drunk, you're drunk. I'm Rihanna.
Question.
The alligator. Oh, you think the alligator is just gonna throw your jaw? You're scared of alligator is gonna throw your jaw? What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to another True Crime Sunday. I am in a different location because Abby's house has amazing lighting, as you can see. So we are coming on to a second part in the series. So last week's video, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it before you can understand what's happening in this video and the next video that I'm going to do. So last week we did a video on the Biological Resource Center, and it was of a string of FBI raids in human trafficking. So this was human body trafficking. To understand how horrific this case is and to understand how it connects to the next two videos, you will need to watch that. So pause the video. I'm going to put a tab to, it's going to be up here somewhere, to that video here, and just click that, and then I'll see you when you come back, because you don't want to come back for this. So pause the video. So today's case is an extremely well-known case. I know that I say that I generally don't do big cases, or no, not even big cases, really well-known cases that a lot of people have already covered. But in this particular case, because I did put my detective hat on to do that video on the Biological Resource Center, I actually found connections to the Kenneka Jenkins case. And so today I'm going to be talking about what actually happened in the Kenneka Jenkins case, because I know there are some people who aren't crazy into true crime and are just watching these videos, and maybe you just hate watching these videos. So I need to fill you in either way. So today I'm going to be talking to you about what actually happened, and then in the next video, because there are so many theories, I'm going to do a completely separate video on the theories, and I'm also going to be debunking some really popular theories. So Kenneka Jenkins was a 19-year-old girl who went missing in a Crown Plaza hotel, and she went missing from the room 926. Kenneka arrived to the hotel with 3 other friends, and Kenneka at the time was using her mother's car. It was lent to her for the night. Her 3 friends were Maya, Monifa, and Bree. So a lot of YouTubers and reports, and I guess anything American, will say that this was a party that they were going to. In Australia, if you grew up in Australia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This wouldn't be considered a party. To me, when I think of a party, I think of 50+ people, there's heavy drugs there, everyone is drunk, and there's like raging music, and it's, you know, that's a party to me. But what I've seen in all of the Snapchats from that night, from the live video from that night, and from just the general description of the environment, that looks to me more like a gatho. And if you don't know what a gatho is, that's basically Australian for gathering. So a gatho is when you've got, you know, not 50 people. So I don't know, maybe like 10 of your friends, and you're all just chilling around, smoking weed, and everyone's on their phones. And that's basically what this night was. They did have a little Bluetooth speaker that they were playing music out of, and it was actually Kenneka's phone that was connected to the Bluetooth speaker. So it was a very chilled kind of environment, to the point where one of the girls, who was the birthday girl, her name is Irene. Some people know her as the woman with the mirrored glasses. So it was that chilled that Irene was doing a Facebook Live at the party. We're gonna call this a gatho. It was a gatho, really. Now, the girl with the mirrored glasses, let's talk about that video, because that has been a heavily dissected video, to the point where it's broken down frame by frame. And I have excruciatingly watched this particular video frame by frame, because people on the internet have taken this case, just like, just like every case, people on the internet take things and they see things that aren't there because they want something to be true. I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't see these things, but on one of the videos, a commenter said that hey, why does Irene have these big mirrored sunglasses on? She's inside. Can you see that when she turns her head, you can see that her eye is a little bit dark? Like, that must mean that she's got a black eye. And then that same commenter said that, oh, well, how come a few hours earlier in Irene's live before the party, she didn't have sunglasses on and she didn't have a black eye? I'm just gonna put it out there. I've watched this video frame by frame because I too am someone who wants to watch videos and make these conspiracies because I think it's interesting, and I'm like, oh, you know, aliens confirmed. But I'm gonna tell you, I've watched it frame by frame. It doesn't look like Irene has a black eye. I haven't seen any live videos before the party, but Irene at the party, she didn't have a black eye. She was just wearing those big mirrored sunglasses because I guess she thinks they look really cool. And so that's just her style. So I'm just gonna debunk that right now. In this live video as well, I'm going to point out that a lot of the things that people are saying, oh, conspiracy, is frame by frame and is in the reflection of the sunglasses. Because if you can imagine this, I'm on Facebook Live, it's right in front of my face, and I've got these big sunglasses on. So what you guys are seeing through the live is literally just my face. But what people are saying they see in the room is what's reflected on her sunglasses. And I'm gonna link the video down there so you can watch it yourself. But frame by frame, yeah, sure, you can see some people sitting down directly in front of her. But the things that people are saying that they're seeing, you can't say that because it's blurry. It's a reflection of something that's so small, which is being filmed, and the pixels just aren't there. I just don't see it. There's one where it looks like a bedpost and someone says, oh, that's an arm, like that's a body. And I'm like, oh my God, sister, like you're just taking this way too far. So I will link the video down below so you can see it yourself, but I didn't see what people are saying. And there are also people who say that they hear in that video someone say, we're gonna murder her, we're gonna rape her, we're gonna, you know, but I do not hear that in the video whatsoever. Like, I don't know where these people are picking these things up. For me, I hope you can take my word for it, but videos down below, I don't hear it. I did find a video from Irene where she's being interviewed. It's not an official interview. It's literally just in someone's lounge room. It's just this guy just asking her questions and filming her about that night. I'll link that one down below as well. I might even, you know, put snippets of it in this video, but this is where Irene, who was the birthday girl, the entire reason that everyone was there at the gather that night, this is her point of view on what happened that night.
Kenneka is lit. She really drunk. She wasted.
When we bopping. I know we bopping.
West side, y'all bop.
Yeah.
Sick
so
on my bop.
Yeah, I see her. I look at her. She leaned back to the wall. Yeah, Kenneka, it's over for you. You drunk. It's your bitch. You lit. You drunk. She ain't drunk. That's when you know Kenneka drunk, because she always telling us if she not drunk.
Okay.
You drunk. That's when I knew she drunk.
So at that particular moment, was she like stumbling, falling? Was people still trying to dance with her? She just
she was all still dancing, bopping like. She drunk, but we still dancing. She fall right into the lamp. Boom.
Damn, she injured herself.
Nah, she ain't injured herself. She just fell to the lamp, like stumbled to it. They, ooh, yeah. I'm like, ooh, yeah, you is drunk. She lay on the bed. My sister put her right there. She go to sleep. Monifa pick her up. And this time, I'm guessing they finna go. Because Monifa pick her up.
Right.
Now they finna go. Monifa and them leave out the room. They enter it, like, to get her phone. Mike like, give me her phone. I'm like, y'all finna go. She here. Come in, Monifa like, Kenneka gone.
Who came back for the phone?
Mike. Both of them left the room with her.
Okay. So she's in the hallway with Monifa.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they realized she ain't got her phone, the keys, nothing. They just.
So now they come back in here
to get the stuff.
To get this. Okay, so everybody.
You can't leave without her keys or her phone.
Exactly, because she drove. We in her mama's car.
Yeah.
How's she going? We got her keys in her phone.
That's what I'm like. How she going that fast though? That's what I'm saying, y'all. Just literally, just like 30 seconds. I say, left by push, come back in whatever. 30 seconds. She gone.
So Irene does say that Kenneka was, you know, she at one point she had like fallen into a lamp. She At one point she was on the bed, you know, sleeping or like passed out. And then at another point she was dancing and then she leaned back into the wall and her eyes were closing. So it's interesting because I've seen a couple of different Snapchats from that night. Everyone seems to be in their right mind. No one seems to be drunk to the point of, you know, falling into anything, or, you know, even in the surveillance footage from when everyone was leaving the party, after the party had ended, no one was struggling to walk. No one was struggling to hold themselves up. But the fact that Kenneka was this way leads some people to say that she was, you know, either under the influence of something heavier or someone had date rape drugged her. At one point, Irene, in this video when she's explaining the night, she says that a security guard knocked on the door and they were like, you have to keep it down. Irene does say there were a lot of, she describes it as there being a lot of Caucasian people on their floor making a lot of complaints. And so she said that the hotel said they need to keep it down. And then the person who was interviewing her said, well, did the security guard know that you guys were smoking weed? You know, like, did they know what kind of environment it was? And Irene said that you could literally smell the weed as you got off the floor's elevator. Don't judge my tan. So the security guard knew, and I'm also going to interject in this part which she doesn't actually say. One of the people who was at the party that night and one of their close friends actually works at the Crown Plaza Hotel, and she actually works in security. So that might be another reason why the hotel were being so lenient on this gathering. So moving back onto Kenneka. So Irene says that at some point she actually said to Kenneka, look, you are done, you're lit, you're drunk. And Kenneka says, I'm not drunk, I've only had one drink. And so that is, I guess, a little bit more of a reason why people think that she was spiked. Maybe someone gave her the date rape drug. But when we get into the evidence and the autopsy, I think that's going to be in the next video, we'll see exactly what she had in her system. So because she came to the party with Bree, Manifa and Maya, and she had her mother's car, her three friends were like, okay, Kenneka, like, she's done. She's no more, like, she needs to go home. She's like falling asleep on the bed. And so her three friends were like, okay, we're taking you home. And so they got Kenneka, they brought her outside of the hotel room, and then they were like, oh, Kenneka was like, like, my keys, you know, my keys are in there, and also my phone. And so then her three friends were like, okay, you stay here, we're just gonna quickly go and grab it. They went into the hotel room, and from Irene's explaining of it, they were only there for 30 seconds. And remember, Kenneka's phone was the thing that was providing the music. It was the phone that was connected to the Bluetooth speaker. And so they disconnected her phone, they grabbed her keys, and then they went outside of the hotel room and Kenneka was gone. They went back into the hotel room and they were like, look, Kenneka's gone, she's like run off. And Irene said that everyone, you know, laughed, you know, like, it's your drunk friend, they've run off. Drunk people can run off faster than a child in a supermarket. We all know that. And in fact, everyone seems to have a go at her friends, saying like, why would you leave your intoxicated friend outside the hotel room? Why wouldn't one of you just stay there with her? Like, you've got three girls, like, why wouldn't one of you stay out there and then one of you go in and grab her stuff? Keep in mind, they didn't know what was going to happen to Kenneka. How would they have known? And so these friends are catching a lot of flack for this, and I just want you to think about it logically, because I think a lot of people are acting on their emotions here. You've got a drunk friend. This is not a party, it's a gathering, it's a gatho. And you've got three girls who are taking her home. Okay, they all did go back into the hotel room, but what's separating them? It's literally just a wall and a door. The fact that Kenneka was leaning on the wall and, you know, falling asleep on the bed, she didn't, to me, in my experience with that drunk friend who runs off, they're usually in a different phase. They're in a different part of their drunkenness. The drunk friend that runs away is someone who has a lot of energy, and is someone who wants the party to keep going. Kenneka seemed like she was in the phase of her drunkenness where she just wanted to go to bed. So if I were one of those friends, I would not have assumed that my friend would have run off. I would not have assumed that anything bad would have happened just being right outside the door. You know what I'm saying? The hotel room is not that big. It's probably smaller than this, you know what I'm saying? So her friends literally just went in for 30 seconds to grab her phone and to grab her keys and just disconnect the music from the Bluetooth and maybe even hug some people goodbye. You know what I'm saying? So 30 seconds, Irene says that they had come back into the room, and when they went out there, Kenneka was gone, and then when they came back in, they were like, Kenneka's like run off, where like she's gone. And so another thing that the internet has like erupted about, has been really angry about, is like, why didn't the other people in the party, and why didn't Irene, if she's such a good friend of Kenneka's, why didn't she get up and be like, we're gonna do a search party, we're gonna call the police, we're gonna call her mum, you know, like why didn't they do something more than what they did? And Irene explains it like the vibe was different to how the internet thinks it was, you know? It was a gathering, it was really chill, and everyone was having a good time. So it was Irene's birthday, and she was like, look, the girls came in and they said that Kenneka like wasn't there. Like she had run off, like she's gone missing. We were all having a good time, and we all know that, you know, someone going missing when they're drunk just means that they've run off. It doesn't mean that someone snatched them. And at the time, we didn't think that that was the situation. At the time, we thought it was funny. Run off. If you go now, like you'll catch her. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's really important to put yourself in Irene's shoes. It was her birthday. She didn't want to leave her birthday party for a friend who has had a bit too much to drink and is just playing games, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure if you think about it logically, you can understand that these are not horrible girls. These are not horrible people, and they don't deserve the death threats that they've been getting over this case. I don't think, you know, hindsight is a beautiful thing. We know that Kenneka is dead, but at the time they thought that Kenneka just ran off. So please use your logic here. In that video from Irene where she's explaining her side of things, she skips to when she left the party, and she said that was around 9 a.m. She said that when she left the hotel room, she was catching a ride home and there were still partygoers waiting for their ride. And so she just assumed that people were still, you know, looking for Kenneka, and she texted Kenneka's sister being like, hey, like any update on Kenneka? And there was no update. And so that's where Irene's involvement in the night ends. Because again, she didn't think it was this huge thing. She thought that maybe Kenneka just went to a friend's house, or maybe she did end up home. Maybe she's somewhere and her family just, you know, she didn't end up at her family's home. Maybe she ended up at like maybe a guy's home, or maybe, you know, someone else's home, not her. It wasn't a big deal at that time. And I understand that. There might be some discrepancies between my reporting of what just happened and other true crime YouTubers, because some YouTubers say that, oh, her friends left her out in the hallway for 15 minutes. I am saying it was 30 seconds. I'm going to say maximum 5 minutes. That's a stretch. And I'm saying that because it's coming straight from a source. It's not coming from internet rumors. So I, just like the other cases that I've done where a lot of people have picked something up and run with conspiracies, I'm only going to report on things that I know for a fact, or something that has come from the source who was actually there that night. So Irene was the birthday girl, the whole night was for her, and this is her reporting because she was there. She said it was 30 seconds. The maximum leeway that I'm gonna give her is 5 minutes, and even then, I'm gonna say that's a stretch. So I'm not going to say or report that her friends left her out in the hallway for 15 to 20 minutes, because that's just not coming from a source. That's coming from internet rumors. So what I will say though is one YouTuber did say that when she was out in the hallway, because the three girls just thought they were going in to grab her phone, grab her keys and come back out, that they pressed the elevator door button so that when they came back out, the elevator would be up at their level and they could just go home because they just wanted to get out of there. It would have been just as easy for Kenneka to have pressed that button, because the elevator, like where it was located, was just outside room 926. So it would have been just as easy for Kenneka to have pressed that button. But I mean, either way, it meant that the elevator was up at the level, and that is quite possibly what prompted Kenneka to walk from the door to the elevator, because the elevator door's open, and if you're a drunk person to the point that she was, you are likely thinking, okay, cool, I'm just like, the elevator door has opened, I'm gonna walk into the elevator, and you're not really thinking like, are my friends behind me, because your friends were just there a second ago, and it's only been like, what, 30 seconds? So drunk Kenneka has walked to the elevator door because the doors had opened, because someone had pressed the button for their level. And so here's the elevator, she walks in, and then the elevator doors close. Her friends come out, and that's where they're like, what the heck? Kenneka is gone. They go back into the room, they're like, yo, Kenneka just ran off, like she's missing. And everyone's like, yo, she's not missing. Go run and find her, and you'll find her. And we know, once an elevator is in use, it's gonna take some time for that person who's in the elevator to get off, and for the elevator to come back to the level that the 3 girls were pressing the elevator button at. So Kenneka has a head start. The door was already open, she walked in. That's the most likely situation, and it's not a crazy conspiracy. I'm gonna say that it's a theory. I don't know that that's exactly what happened, but I'm assuming that that's what happened because it's the most logical thing. Kenneka has a head start. Her 3 friends are pressing the elevator button to get down. Here is where I get confused, because some people say that you can't get to the level that Kenneka got to without a staff access card. A lot of people are saying that Kenneka pressed the staff floor thinking that it was the lobby, because the staff floor's little button says LL. LL stands for lower level. Because you usually need staff access for you to get to this button, for even the button to light up to register in the elevator. A lot of people are saying that, you know, why was the staff access turned off? Why could normal patrons get to this level? I don't have an answer for that. Either way, it lit up and it took her to the staff floor. This is where we see Kenneka coming out of the elevator. We do have security footage from the Crown Plaza of Kenneka, so we can follow her trail of that night. We see her coming out of the elevator. We see her look to the left, which by the way is just a dead end. It's just a wall. And then we see her look to the right. She's stumbling a bit, and that's where the hallway is. We see her stumbling down the hallway. She is visibly drunk. There are a lot of people who say Kenneka wasn't drunk enough to do this, but she's visibly drunk. Even if someone says that they just had 1 drink, they could have been spiked, or they could have had more than what they said they had, or they could just not be able to handle alcohol. I remember last week, Abby and I went to get dinner, and I had an espresso martini. I hadn't eaten much that day. We didn't get a table, so we had our drink before we had food, and I drank that espresso martini, and girl, I'm telling you, I felt drunk. And I don't usually drink. Had I had like maybe 1 more, or maybe even half of another drink, I would have been walking like that. I am a lightweight drunk person. It doesn't take a lot to get me drunk, so I'm a cheap drunk. So it's really likely that maybe she did just have 1 drink, and I'm gonna tie that theory into one of the 911 calls, but that'll come in later. But it's likely that she did just have what she said she had. The point is that it affected her in a way that she was impaired. Same as me, very impaired. So here is where we're moving on to dissect the footage from the security tapes of the Crown Plaza. I'm gonna put snippets in here. I'm also gonna put a link down below, because I'm not going to show the entire clip. I'm just gonna describe it to you, because that would make this video super long, but it is there, like the full entire frame by frame clip. It is there in the description box below. We see her going up ramps. We literally see her walking into a stair railing. She didn't see the stair railing, and she like almost flipped over and onto the floor, but she still managed to keep her cool. We also see her doing things like using the wall to stay standing. We also see her mistaking a male bathroom for a female bathroom. She goes into the male bathroom. She's in there for about 45 seconds before realizing where she is. She comes back out. she's opening every single door that she sees. So she's walking along walls, walking along hallways, and she's opening every single door she can see. And this is where I think she's like, okay, well, I'm drunk and I'm lost and I don't know where my friends are. None of this is familiar. Or maybe it is familiar, but she's just, it's a maze, it's a hotel, and she's on a level that you're not supposed to be in. So she's opening every single door, trying to find a friend or trying to find someone who can help her, but she doesn't find anyone. So the last we see her is going into that male bathroom and coming out. And then we see her looking down a hallway. Now, down this hallway there's signs saying that patrons can't go in this section, like definitely off limits, don't come down here. Kenneka's drunk. She does go down there. She walks down there and then she goes into these big double doors and she goes into a staffed kitchen area. Here is where some things get a little bit disconnected, because a lot of reports say that it was an abandoned kitchen area, but I've seen footage from literally the day before and there are people in there preparing food. So I don't think it was an abandoned area. I think maybe it was one of the kitchens that wasn't used as much. I do know that they were using that kitchen for like one of the restaurants in there, but it was later going to be used for another restaurant opening in the hotel. So it wasn't completely abandoned. However, one of the freezers was not in use. So one of the freezers wasn't in use, but I do think that the kitchen was in use because that's actually going to give us some clues later on down the track. And I do want to say, for all the people who are saying that it was her friends, in the security footage, Kenneka had a head start. If they were that little bit, maybe even a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit closer, they literally just missed her. But because she went into the male bathroom, they weren't thinking in the mind of a drunk woman. So they went into the girls' bathroom. It's one of those things that if they were a little bit quicker or if Kenneka was a little bit slower, they might have saved her. But they checked in the girls' bathroom. They didn't check in the boys' bathroom. Either way, they were a little bit behind Kenneka. So by this point, Kenneka was already off. But they did check down on the lower level. And remember when I said that when Kenneka came out of the boys' bathroom, she went past those signs that said that you cannot come in this point. Keep in mind that those three friends aren't as drunk as Kenneka. So they check the girls' bathroom, they see the hallway that Kenneka actually did go down, they don't know this, but they also see the signs that say prohibited entry, like you cannot come down here. And so they didn't check that kitchen. They went to check the rest of the hotel. Also,
Ellie's like really doesn't believe in spiritual stuff.
But this is what she thinks.
But it is really hard to kind of put this, I guess, belief into something like crime because it's just so horrible.
Because I'm like, how dare she? Then I'm like, oh, I guess like if there was like a final destination situation that like maybe if she didn't die, somebody else would die.
Yeah, or as you said, like with the elevator and the girls coming to find Kenneka and it not being, like they're not being fast enough. Like what if the girls had gone to find her and they were right behind her and something happened to them as well. Like that's kind of how I relate as everything happening for a reason, because it could have been way worse. It could have been 4 of them instead of, you know, just Kenneka. And though that is so horrible and I never wish anyone to kind of go through what she's been through and what her family's been through, there could have been greater evil out of this scenario as well.
Had the elevator not opened at that moment that the girls weren't there and Kenneka walked in, you know, then maybe they would have just all left together. You know what I'm saying? Like I do get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to note her friends were not far behind her. They didn't go into the section she went into because they weren't as drunk as her, and they didn't ignore those do not enter signs. So they didn't go in there because they were just being good girls, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not these horrible people that everyone are like, why didn't they check the kitchen? I would have checked everywhere. But me being like, and I'm not saying that I'm a good girl, I'm saying that I'm scared of getting in trouble, and so if I see signs saying like absolutely no patrons, staff only, I wouldn't dare go in that section because I'm scared of getting yelled at. And so if I was part of that little mini search party where I'm like, our drunk friend has run off, I wouldn't think to go in there because I would be way too scared of getting in trouble. So Kenneka actually entered this abandoned or lesser used kitchen at 3:32 a.m. But let's have a look back at what her friends are doing. So Kenneka's in the kitchen at 3:32, but it's at 4:34 that her friends are like, we cannot find our drunk friend. We need some help. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't want to just leave the hotel. And there is another reason why they did this. But let me just say, they called Kenneka's mum, Teresa. They're like, we cannot find Kenneka. She's somewhere in this hotel. She's drunk and we've been looking for her for the past couple of hours. And can you just come down here and help us? Like, bring the fam. Like, we need some help. There is another reason why they resorted to calling Kenneka's mother. The hotel, this is going to be really frustrating from here on out, anytime I refer to the hotel. So the Crown Plaza were not very nice to the family and they were not very helpful in this situation. So the girls called Teresa because they were being kicked out because they kept coming to the front desk saying, our friend is missing. She's under the influence. She's somewhere in this hotel. We need you guys to either look for her or let us see the security footage because we're trying to get our friend so that we can leave, and we've been looking for the past couple of hours. So we need your help. The Crown Plaza were not having it, and so they were like, you need to leave, like, we're gonna call the police on you. So the Crown Plaza did say that if the girls don't leave, that they were gonna call the police. And so that's when the girls were like, we need an adult, we need a grown-up, we need someone's mum to come down here and help us. And so that is why they called Teresa. This is when Teresa's motherly instincts kicked in, because the girls had said that, hey, she's missing, she's under the influence, but it was only at the later end of the call that they were like, we also have her keys and her phone. This is when Teresa was like, well, I'm paying this girl's phone bill for a reason, so that she can call me if she needs me. Why do these girls have her phone? And why do these girls have my car keys? Because remember, Teresa lent Kenneka her car for the night. And she was like, my girl is smart. My girl is not going to be leaving her phone with some girls. My girl is not going to be leaving my car keys with strangers. I need to get down there. Now, this is some really unfortunate circumstances because Teresa just came off surgery. Teresa was like, I can't drive. I need someone to come and pick me up so that I can go and get my daughter. Teresa had breast cancer and that day was her surgery. So Abby believes that everything happens for a reason. So there's a reason that her mother could not get straight down there. First of all, Kenneka had her car. The girls had her car. And second of all, she had just come off surgery. So her red flags are going off at this point, especially because her car keys and Kenneka's phone are not with Kenneka. And so she calls the police. She calls the police and she's like, look, something has happened to my daughter. I feel it. You guys need to get down here. Can you please just check the security footage to see if she's there? She didn't feel right about it. So I'm gonna put the 911 phone call in here.
No, yes. No, I remember that. You told me that she was 19. But what I'm saying is that she, again, she's only been gone for a couple hours. She's, I don't know, maybe she's, she could be somewhere with one of her friends or something, because I mean, it is only a couple hours since you hadn't seen her, correct? Or since her friend supposedly hadn't seen her?
Correct. Let's say about 3 to 4 hours now, they said. They told me. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning when they called me.
Yeah. Well, I guess the one, are you looking to file a missing persons report then, or are you just? Or would you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry, sir, but I just want to know: is it possible that maybe they can look at the cameras and see? It's because they send the police out here and ask them to look at the cameras and see if they've seen her on their cameras around that time.
I was about to say, even if I did send an officer, it would take a little bit in order for us to get the camera footage and for us to pass it on to the detectives division.
Okay. Okay. So what would you suggest?
Well, again, the only thing I would suggest maybe just give her a couple hours. She could have went somewhere with one of her other friends. I mean, and who knows what her friends are saying is true. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You could tell, not to be saying, you could tell it don't sound right. I'm a parent. I've been young before, and it's not sounding right. It don't sound right, period. That's why I came out here myself, because and then it sounded like they had been drinking, honestly.
Yeah.
And I asked them, did she drink? And they said she had only 1 cup. But okay, my daughter ain't the type that normally, she can't even take liquor. Her liquor level is just like mine. We can't take liquor. We cannot take liquor. We take a sip of liquor, we drunk. Honestly.
No, I completely understand.
And I'm like, 1 cup is too much for her, and I like I asked them. And then they end up with her cell phone. I pay her cell phone bill every month to make sure my daughter has a phone. How did she love her phone? I don't understand why would she leave her cell phone with you all and just go disappear? And she know I just had surgery. She know my predicament.
No, yeah. Well then, so that in that case, what I would recommend, just go home, relax a little bit, give it some time. Of all we know, she very well could still be in the room. She could just be passed out. Again, you know how it is. You drink it the night before, you get, what I mean, whatever else have you. So just give it a couple hours. Maybe see if she'll get a hold of you again. I mean, does she know your number?
Yeah, she know my number very well. She's very smart.
So in the 911 phone call, as you just heard, Teresa did say that her friends actually left Kenneka in the lobby. Now, this is not correct information. She later comes out and says that she only said that Kenneka was in the lobby because her friends had said the wrong thing. Like, her friends kind of wanted to ease the blow a little bit, or maybe make more sense, or I don't know why the girls said that they left Kenneka in the lobby. They left Kenneka outside the hotel room. That has been confirmed. Teresa did say on this 911 call that my daughter cannot handle alcohol. She said a lot of things about her daughter. My daughter is smart, like she wouldn't do this, but my daughter cannot handle alcohol. Can you please get someone down to the Crowne Plaza to check their security footage? This is really important. In the call, she does tell the 911 operator that the Crowne Plaza claimed that they don't actually have any cameras, but when the shift changed, because remember this is a night shift, so you're gonna have morning shift come on because it is the early hours of the morning, the new staff were like, oh no, we've got cameras. So whoever was working that night shift actually said to the family and to the girls, like, we don't have cameras, you can't review our footage. And so that's on the 911 call. She's like, well, they said that they don't have any cameras, but the next shift said, no, we do have cameras, we are recording. So that's a little bit of information that's a little bit extra frustrating from the hotel's, side. It's just like, you guys are being frustrating. As you heard from that call, the 911 operator himself was being frustrated. Like, he was being polite, but he just brushed it off like it was nothing. And again, hindsight is like a beautiful thing. Like, obviously we know what's happened, but he didn't know back then. However, this is an extremely different reaction that you get when you hear that a little white girl has gone missing. But when a little black girl goes missing, they're like, no, she's probably run away, or she's, she's probably drunk somewhere. She's probably, what did the guy say? Oh, she's probably at someone's house, just wait. I'm just gonna interject right here. It does not matter where you are. It's a myth that you have to wait 48 hours to file a missing persons report. You can file a missing persons report like super early. I'm gonna put the screenshot of the thing here, but you don't have to wait 2 days to file a missing persons report. Contact the police straight away, especially if you have that gut feeling that Teresa had in her stomach. So at this point, the 911 operator, he brushed it off and he basically just told her, like, you know, keep living life and she'll probably come home. You know what I'm saying? And that's frustrating. So Teresa made her way down to the hotel and they begged hotel staff to have a look at the security footage and to help them find her daughter. And the hotel staff were completely unhelpful and they were getting really frustrated with them. They were like, this is a police issue, call the police. Like this is not like, we don't have to look at our security footage and we don't have to get anyone to search our hotel, like call the police. And so Teresa, obviously upset, she leaves the hotel, but then her other daughter, Lenore, goes into the hotel with a friend and they're like, look, I need to find my sister. My sister is missing in this hotel. She's been missing since the early hours of like, what, last morning, this morning or whatever. And they're like, you need to have a look at your security footage because my sister is missing. And again, the hotel were like, no, call the police because we're not doing this. So Lenore went straight down to the police station and she was like, I want to file a missing persons report, and she did. And then she went back to the hotel, and this is another frustrating part, but this is also what Abby's saying about everything happens for a reason. Had Lenore not forgotten to sign the bottom of that document, the bottom of that missing persons report, that police officer wouldn't have followed her to the hotel to get her to finish the report by signing down the bottom, because all she did was miss his signature on one line. So had she actually like filled out the report properly, that officer wouldn't have followed her down to the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Yes!
Yes, she says. So because she just forgot one signature, the police officer followed her and ended up at the hotel. And that is where we have Lenore is like at the security desk. She's like, you guys need to look for my sister. I've just filed the missing persons report. You told me to go to the police and that's what I did. And this is her missing person's number. And because that officer followed her down there, he was at the security desk being like, ma'am, you need to finish this report. Can you just sign here? And Lenore turned to that police officer and she was like, you need to find my sister. Can you please review their security footage? And thank God the officer finally said, all right, I'll review the footage. So this is where it starts. The police are involved now, like, because this officer has finally agreed. However, this officer didn't do an amazing job. Lenore reports that the officer went into the security where they show the footage, and he was only in there for 5 minutes. The only footage that he reviewed was the entrance and exit of the building. And even though we know for a fact that Kenneka entered and did not exit the building, he comes out and says that Kenneka never came into the building and that he never saw Kenneka on any security footage. This is frustrating because obviously we know that Kenneka is still in there. We know that Kenneka did enter the building, and we know that this police officer was only in there for 5 minutes. So he didn't have time to properly review the footage. And so he's basically just trying to get Lenore and Teresa and these girls off his back. But because this happened, it started more frustration with the family, and now the police are somewhat involved. It would then take the family nagging the hotel staff. They nagged them 3 times. Like it was this big kerfuffle 3 times, and it would take them from then 36 hours before they start looking for Kenneka, like properly looking for Kenneka. What's 38 hours? That's longer than a day. A day is 24 hours, 2 days is 48. So what is 36? That's like a little bit more than a day. That's ridiculous. And can I just say that if I owned a hotel and there was a missing girl in my hotel and there were these family members, these friends, this police coming up to my hotel and being like, look for my friend, look for my friend, causing this huge kerfuffle. If I owned a hotel, to me that sounds like it's bad for business, and I would have just like searched for her already. But apparently they were sticking to their like guns, and they were like, no, we don't want to help her. And so they took 36 hours before they would even start looking for her. So there was a female manager after this 36 hours. She was there and she looked at some security footage and she saw Kenneka on the footage. And so then she got 2 police officers to start their search on the lower level, which we know is where Kenneka was last seen. So she's looking at security footage. She's like, okay guys, go down to LL. That is where we last saw Kenneka. And then the police officers were like, to the female manager, can you stay there looking at the security footage and also looking at the current footage to make sure that if we find her, she doesn't run away, because we want to nip this in the bud and we want to just get her out of here so that we can sort this issue out. So the female manager does that. She's keeping an eye on the current footage and the past footage. And while the police officers are looking, she got up to, I think, about 6 a.m. of that morning before, like, as in on the day that Kenneka went missing. She got up to 6 a.m. and she realized that she hadn't seen Kenneka come out of that kitchen, so she must still be in there. The police officers, while in their report they do say that, you know, we searched for the missing girl, we did as a thorough search as we could, but there's only so much of an entire floor, an entire level that we can search. We couldn't find her, but that's only because we only had 2 police officers. Had we had more, we might have been able to look in more places, but they came up with nothing. The police officers did not find her. On the footage from when they're searching, there is a maintenance man, and he walks into that kitchen that we last saw Kenneka in, and he starts looking at a freezer. And he said that he was looking in this direction because he thought it looked different. He said that not a lot of people come down here, and the last time he saw this door, it was, it wasn't open, but he thought that he saw something in there. And so he comes in, and on the security footage, you can see him like getting closer and closer to the freezer, and you can tell like he looks like, what's going on here? But then he gets a radio call, and he answers this radio call, and it is that, we're assuming it's the female manager who's looking at the security tapes, because that would tie into the theory, but it could have been anyone. Someone radioed him saying that someone defecated in the pool and that he needs to leave immediately and go and fix that situation. And so even though he was inching closer and closer to this freezer, and you can see this on the security footage, someone intervenes. Someone calls his radio and says, get out of wherever you are and go to the pool. This could be something shady, or it could be literally someone did shit in the pool and he was the man who had to go clean it. So just keep in mind of where everyone is at this situation. The female manager is currently looking at the lower level footage. Some people suggest that this female manager saw the maintenance man inching closer and closer to the freezer, and she intervened and she called his radio to say to get out of there. We don't know. It literally could have been that someone did shit in the pool. I can't say shit without laughing, I'm sorry. It could have been that someone did a poo-poo in the pool and that he was the man who had to clean it. Or it could tie into people's theories and being like, the hotel was covering it up, you know, she saw, like that was where she was. She was looking at that lower level, possibly at that kitchen at the time that the maintenance man was getting closer and closer to the freezer. Either way, maintenance man is out of the equation. The police, that they've come up by this point and they're like, we can't find her. So maintenance man is gone, but then we have another part of, another suspicious person who works for the hotel, and this is the beverage manager. What people think is so strange about this beverage manager is the fact that he went straight to the freezer, and it's an unused freezer. So he goes straight to the freezer and then he finds Kenneka's literally frozen body in the freezer. And then he goes straight to the 2 police officers, and then he leads him straight to the freezer. And that's why people are like, how come this maintenance man who was inching closer and closer to the freezer suddenly got a radio call to leave? Again, could be coincidence, or it could be one of your conspiracy theories. Like, I don't know. We're going to get into the theories at the end and debunk some of these things, but those are things to like mull on in your mind, and they are a bit of a question for me. Like, you know, does everything happen for a reason? I don't know. Abby's inside here because she wants to do her bit when she looks amazing. Look at her, so beautiful. Beautiful lady. Ow.
No, it looks like a crazy lady.
That's why parts of these videos are going to look like that we filmed them later, because we did, because she wanted to be amazing. They insert the bit where the Police were like, oh, okay, we've got a situation, because by this point the maintenance manager was like, guys, in this freezer, come have a look. And so this is what they radioed back.
301 are here. Oh, fuck.
301, everything 10-4?
Negative. I have that subject in the kitchen in a freezer. She is frozen solid.
10-4, 600?
600 copies. Make notifications. Rosemont 601, you copy? Jerry, what kitchen you in? I'm in the rear by the dock area, by the garbage.
So Kenneka is found in that freezer. It's an industrial walk-in freezer, which has a second freezer inside of it. So she's found literally frozen to death. She has one shoe on, and on the foot that doesn't have a shoe, there's a cut on the side of her foot. Now I'm just gonna say right now, I'm not going to put the pictures in there, but they are readily available. They are horrific, and I did have some questions, because when I saw those pictures, it only made me question things more because they don't make sense. She's lying on her side. Her hair is disheveled, like her hair is everywhere. It looks like there was a struggle, and that's where I am like, I get where people are like, she was raped and put in there. There is a piece of, you know when you open a black plastic bag, like a garbage bag or something, and you've got acrylics on, usually bits of black bag come off, and they end up on your nails, and then you just peel them off and just put them in, because it's plastic and it sticks to your nails. That's what was on her nail. There was a bit of garbage, like black plastic bag garbage thing that was stuck to her nail. She also, so she was wearing a denim jacket, but she also had a shirt on underneath. This is where my questions came from. Why? Because the photos that I saw were censored because her shirt wasn't on. It was pulled down and her breasts were like, they were out. And I was like,
at what point would you just like, even if you're in a drunk state, just pull your shirt down?
We're gonna talk about that in next week's video though. So yeah, so her shirt was pulled down. Her pants were lowered. They weren't completely off, they were just a little bit low. Like apart from the cut on her foot, there weren't any signs of sexual assault or assault in general. Her lip gloss was on the floor. Her pockets had been, you know when you go in your pockets and then the thing inside comes out? That happened. Like her pockets were outturned. Yeah, the lining was out. And that's how she was found. So they radioed back, and because her family were already at the hotel, because it literally took them age, like they were still there. They were camping out there. They were like, find my daughter. So the police came out, they called for backup, and then they also went to the parents and they were like, this is what has happened. This is what we've just found.
She was found dead, right?
She was dead.
Yeah.
Because she was like in the thing that I had just inserted that you guys will have heard, but she wouldn't have heard.
Yeah.
When they radioed back, they were like, she's frozen to the core. Like she's like actually like, you wouldn't even be able to cut into her because she would need to defrost first.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. How do you know how long you would have needed to be in a freezer for to get to that point?
We're gonna talk about that in next week's video because that's evidence. That's
okay.
evidence.
Okay.
Actually, we might talk about it at the end of this video just so that you know.
Okay.
But remember, it's an industrial freezer.
Yeah.
It is.
It's hardcore.
It's hardcore. It's not even like our bar, like because we've worked in a bar. It's not even like our bar freezers.
Yeah.
Like it is. It gets down to, I believe, negative 13 degrees.
Yeah.
So we've never felt that in our lives because we would be dead. So yeah, she was frozen to the core. I remember when we were talking about what she had taken for the night. So her autopsy didn't show any signs of like illegal drugs. So, you know, I don't know how long it would take for like weed to be out of your system, but the autopsy says no illegal drugs. She was over the driving limit, but it wasn't anything that led to her death or anything like that. And she did have that medication in her system, that epilepsy and migraine medication, but nothing that would lead to her death. Let me just explain this industrial freezer for a second. everyone's like, okay, well, if you're drunk, you could just like open the freezer door and then leave. You know what I'm saying? Remember when I said it's a walk-in freezer and there's another freezer inside there? She was in like the second freezer. So when you go into the first freezer, it's got this like circular release valve that you can press to get out. Also remember that this freezer, like you can open the door. There's handles on both sides. There was no barricade or lock on the other side. But she wasn't in that first freezer. She was on the freezer inside the freezer, which there was no lights in there. It was pitch black. And even though there is a release valve in that one, it's pitch black. She's also, as you can see from the videos, can't even hold herself up.
And why the hell would she walk into a freezer to then walk into another freezer? Like, even in your drunk state, you're not going to be like, oh, let me just get myself more.
But then, I hate to say this, but she was opening every single door.
Yeah, that's true.
Every single door in the footage that you guys will have seen.
Yeah.
Any hallway she walks down, she even goes into the male bathroom. She's opening every single door.
Yeah.
I understand that it was dark in there and she wouldn't have seen it. The mother did say that it was a glow-in-the-dark release valve.
Yeah.
So you could see it.
Okay.
But then I just question, like, if I was that drunk, would I know what that means?
Yeah.
We're going to get into some interesting extra facts, like, later in the video. Teresa is like, well, I want to see my daughter's body. At first she was like to the officer, like, how was my daughter lying? Like, and he was like, she was on her side, and just described it. And she was like, well, I want to see my daughter's body. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then this sergeant comes in, and this guy is a rude guy. He's not a nice man. And so she's already been told that she can see her daughter by this other officer. This sergeant comes in, and then he like looks at the scene or whatever, and he comes out, and she's like, I was told that I can see my daughter. Can I see her now? And he was like, absolutely not. Like, you cannot see this body. It's a crime scene. And by this point, she thought it was like an accident scene. And she was like, what? Like, what? You know, as you can imagine, like thinking that it was an accident.
Yeah.
And then him saying like, no, this is a crime scene. You cannot come in here. You cannot see her body. Like, you cannot see anything. And
but I
she's
think it's the rules. Like, even if it's just any dead body, no one can interfere with. So I would be surprised if she was allowed to see her daughter's body, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. When he said no, after she had been told yes by the other person, I think it wasn't just an officer, he was like a deputy, like the person who said she could.
Yeah.
And so she was like, well, okay, well, the other officer gave me his card and said that I could call him if I needed to.
Yeah.
Can you write on this card what your name is? And this sergeant was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he was acting like she was a suspect.
Yeah.
And he was like, sure. And so he wrote his name down, and she was like, can you also put your badge number down? And he stopped, and he was like, and then he turned to another officer and he said something smart, like something like rude and like smart, like, you know, when someone's like, this bitch. Yeah, like right in front of her. Like, we're not stupid. We can see when people are being rude to us and rude about us to other people. So once he did that, he turned around and he was like, fine, you can see her. And she was like, amazing, like, love that for me. This guy's an asshole. And so, but she didn't get to see her straight away. She waited in that lobby for 5+ hours. And when she did see her, like, the sergeant was like, you cannot touch anything, you cannot take pictures, you cannot talk about this, like, and she was like, what the heck?
Yeah, this is my daughter.
This is my daughter. And like, first of all, like, I wouldn't think to touch anything, so you don't have to like be so rude and like, why are you screaming at me? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you yelling at me? So when she finally did get to see Kenneka, that 5+ hours later, she saw Kenneka in a body bag. She didn't see the scene at all. The only reason she knows what the scene looks like is from the photos that the police leaked without the family's consent. So she had said, I don't want the world to see these photos of Kenneka. I don't want that to happen, but they still released it anyway. And that's how people like me have seen these photos. So when she saw Kenneka, she was in a body bag and she was only allowed to see Kenneka's head.
Oh.
Yeah. So on top of that, the way that this sergeant and the hotel, like, I mean, from the start, the hotel have been rude, but every single entity involved in this has been super shady. And we're gonna get into that in next week's video, because we're gonna talk about what happened after they found her body and the evidence. And then the next video is going to be on the theories. I'm so sorry this is gonna be long, but I wanted this series to be a complete collection of everything, because other true crime YouTubers have only done what happened to Kenneka and the theories, and they didn't even debunk like with new evidence that we have. So this is the most updated Kenneka Jenkins series that there will be on YouTube, and I wanted to do this properly. So thank you so much for watching. The next video is going to be on what happened after, as well as the evidence, and then the video after that will be debunking popular theories and maybe presenting some new theories. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you want to see more of Abby on my channel. We can make that happen.
Who is this?
Who is? She's like, I'm Rihanna.
I'm Rihanna.
Give this video a thumbs up, it really does help. Let me know if you've got any cases you want me to cover in the comments below. And if you want to subscribe and be a nice guy, I put out like normal videos like hauls and makeup videos and story times on a Wednesday, and I do a true crime Sunday every Sunday. So I will put my little head here if you want to subscribe, and I will see you in the next Kenneka Jenkins video.
Yes, she know my number very well. She's very smart.